Broc Glover here in Salt Lake City at Rice-Eccles Stadium, where we're getting ready for the final round of the 2024 Monster Energy AMA Supercross Championship and the Dunlop Motorcycle Tires Track Walk. And I have a very special co-host with me, Daniel Blair. Thanks for coming out of retirement and put that microphone on again, and you're going to be able to, I can't wait to do this track walk with you.
Yeah, I'm excited to be trackside with you. Love the videos, and now I get to do it myself. I do got the boots on because the water has been applied, and we'll get into why, but no, it should be fun. I like the track layout, and let's get into this thing.
Let's check it out. It's quite a bit different than last year in some ways. The way I'm counting up the 90-degree corners versus the you know the 180s, and this year, last year I think they only had like 3 180s. This year it has like 6, and last year it had a lot of 90s, and this year it has like half of those. So I am excited. Most people, when they watch Supercross, the 180s offer a little more passing opportunities.
Yep. Setup too, I think. With the 90s, you kind of can funnel in and be very protective. It's easier to play defense, but the 180s, you got to play it so. I mean, if you leave the door open, you get stuff. We've seen that this year, aggressive riding. I mean, these guys love it. And if you play too tight a defense, they can swing wide. So, yeah, when I see a track and see a bunch of 180s, it just creates passing opportunities. And now it's about piecing it together and finding out where they are, but way more options with the bull turns.
Yep, so heading out of that start, right down flat, very wide. You can see they've been working, maybe Derek can zoom down a little bit. They've been working the track, digging it up, applied a ton of water, hence your boots you threw on there at the last minute. I can understand why, because they are really putting in a lot of water into the surface, letting it soak down. We are here at 4,650 feet, give or take, so we're 300 or 400 feet above Salt Lake City. Up against the base of the mountain, so the weather, you can feel the wind right now. It's not forecasted for tomorrow. The wind's supposed to die down, which is good, but this wind wreaks havoc on the track crew as they try to put enough water in this surface.
Yeah, that would be their challenge, right? I mean, they're the best of the best. They do it all the time, but I feel like right now this is just trying to get underneath, right? Just get a little bit soaked under, because the wind will blow the top.
Yep.
And next thing you know, it looks like it's dry, but if we can get under there a foot or so. So they applied it though, man. It's pretty deep.
So your official role here at Salt Lake City, the KTM Group's amateur manager, and we have the 5th and final Supercross Futures race going on here. We also have the KTM Junior Final, which is all the riders, I believe, that finished in the top 1 or 2 at each one of the races, they get to come for the shootout. And it was kind of fun. Last year's winner, Beckham Smith, he ended up going on to become a Team Dunlop elite rider. And speaking of Dunlop, a tough block just blew off the top of that berm. So hopefully you won't have too much wind in the mic. We're doing our best here, but we can't, Mother Nature. We're, again, right up against the mountains, or kind of the cloud. It's sunny in Salt Lake area, but right here, we're right on the edge here. So. And then we have the showdown, 250 showdown. The last time we saw the showdown in Nashville, it was just havoc. Everything went crazy. Point system, all the point standings got mixed up. So no championship is safe right now. I mean, what's your take on that one?
Oh man, well, I love the showdown. I'll just tell you first off, it's like my favorite race of the year. And I'm big about unpredictability. I like to not know the outcome. And I feel like for some reason, these showdowns, every rider on the gate, they know the history that guys can pull off wins at this one, guys that weren't expected to. So I feel like every guy that is legitimately in contention for a win thinks they can get it at the showdown, so they all try a lot harder, and then they all kaboom around each other. So, no, I thought the last one was great. This one, obviously, I mean, the Levi Kitchen RJ, I mean, sometimes there's math when you're like, okay, if he does this, it'll work. I love when it's just like, just figure it out, boys. Like, whichever one of you wins this moto, they can go 2019, that guy gets it. So I love that title. And then also, I just want to see Vial handle the pressure, and then see Deegan just probably ride like a man possessed. I think he's going to be pretty wild here.
Yeah, it's been really, really fun to watch both of those, the East and the West. And every time we get the showdown, I mean, it's exciting. And this is one of my favorite races too, this final one. And so we go into the 450 class. It looks like Jet Lord's got a pretty good handle on it. Doesn't seem to be folding under the pressure. He's kind of righted the ship, and he's coming back on the championship there. And Salt Lake's kind of an interesting thing. I mean, this venue, they had their residency here, so we had those 7 rounds, and in that, when it all was, dust was settled and up to today, I think Cooper Webb is the leading winner here. I think he has 4 different main event wins here, so it'd be interesting if he's feeling warm and fuzzy when he gets here too, maybe like he does in Dallas, huh?
Yeah, and I would think that if he physically is capable, I think he would love to end strong here and just kind of send one final message off like, hey, this year was good, because it was good for him. And I feel bad that it's kind of fallen apart here late with the injury, but if you look back, man, he's been in it since that very first heat race. He beat Jet in that first heat race, and he took him deep into April, man. But ultimately, I could see him riding with a little bit of emotion here, trying to end strong on a championship that I think he thought he had a shot at a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, he did. It seemed like he, of course, he had a championship shot at it, but it just hasn't panned out the last couple of weeks. Eli Tomac is withdrawn for the race with injuries, and he's out. So and then last week we saw first time in the history. 2 brothers finished 1-2 on the podium in the premier class, so that was exciting for the Lawrence brothers. So coming around this first corner, let's talk about it. I had the luxury of watching press day. Press day, for the first time that I can remember, this year they have allowed the riders to ride the whole track. So we got to see the futures ride the whole track. We got to see 250 and the 450 riders get the whole entire track, with the exception of the whoops. They did not allow them to go the whoops trying to hold up. So we're gonna try not to get hit by the banners that are flapping around behind us. So this first corner was very, very interesting, Daniel. The riders were coming way out here by the Rocky Mountain ATV MC tough block there, sweeping wide and then hitting this first small at the most 3 foot and clearing all the way up onto that table on top of that Honda tough block up there. And that was the very, very fast line, because we'll talk about what they did from there. However, turning around behind us, would you like what is that, 40? How wide do you think that corner?
That's wide, and obviously I like it for the first corner just to give some space in, but to do this obstacle, you do actually have to use a bunch of it, because again, in the elevation, they don't have that power, and this dirt doesn't have a lot of traction, so they can't do things tight. I like that it's wide, because it makes you have to go way out there to get this thing, which creates some passing opportunities here. So I would think in qualifying, you'll see a lot of them going deep to just carry their speed, but come race time, that's when I think you'll see a little bit back and forth, because this is way out there. That's
I know.
Deep
I think they're going to start trying to work their way tighter, and still make this obstacle right here. Because as you mentioned, they just don't have the power. I mean, at sea level, I think the 450 guys would probably come midway and just clear it. But up here, they got to get a run at it. It's kind of fun to watch, to be honest with you. They have to work a little harder.
I'm thinking too, in the heat race, the dirt's always a little slick. And then it gets good for a little bit, and then it gets dry. So they're going to have to catch a good window if they want to go a little tighter. Otherwise, they'll be drifting way out, and that's passing lines. So I like it. I like big open first turns.
This year's track is about 50 feet longer than last year. It's just over 1,900 feet long. Last year, ironically, looking back at qualifying times, I think Chase Sexton, who ended up winning that night, and the championship. So he was the first rider ever at Salt Lake to actually win the final round and win the championship. So that broke the streak of no champion had ever won at Salt Lake and then from there we went on to go into qualifying, and he did a 46-second lap time. Then you look at the main event lap times, and they're in the 49 seconds. So the track slowed down almost 3 seconds from qualifying to main. So that's just the track getting dry and slippery.
You know what's crazy? You bring up Salt Lake, the history, right? And sometimes you have a venue that's weird like that, where the champion can't win there, whatever. How about the Anaheim 1 curse that's about to be broken? Ryan Villapoto, 2014, won Anaheim 1 and the title, and no one's done that since. And if Jet wins this thing, he'll be the first to do that in over 10 years.
Well,
that's pretty sick.
That is pretty sick. It is funny how those little streaks come, and you can understand kind of how this final one. The guys are protecting their championship and their points, and they don't want to risk it. And other people are hanging it out, and you do understand why it happens. But it's just it's an interesting stat when you're just talking about statistics there. So coming up onto here, so this here, man,
this is some thinking right here.
What do you think? Oh, get some run up here.
I need to run. There's no way I'm doing that from the bottom.
Exactly. Now you're going to be out of air. Okay. That's steeper. And the camera doesn't always do it justice, but there's a pretty long ways up here, especially as we talked about not having the power that you're used to. So from here, now we can see from standing up here. So on this table, the quick line was clearing that single right there. And then there's a 5-3-5, meaning 5 feet, 3 feet, 5 feet. Normally, the 450 guys particularly, they're trying to avoid those tall ones. They don't want to go high in the air. Opposite seems to be here. They're hitting that tall to clear the other tall, and they want the extra launch.
It's like, if they could gut over this, they could do something different, but I don't think they could get this far with, again, with that run and elevation and the slickness. So yeah, it kind of makes itself to where you have to hit big to big because they are trying to avoid that, but dude, that's a steep one.
It is. And here too, physically, you're having to do this for 20 minutes plus a lap or 15 plus a lap, and you're kind of lifting, trying to lift your bike, lift your bike, lift your bike. These are like deadlifts, like 3 or 4 deadlifts in a row. So did any of your Supercross future riders, did any of them talk about, hey man, could use a little more power?
Oh yeah, no, that's the first thing they said. I had these 2 kids from South Carolina, Logan Riggins, RJ Johnson, and the first thing I heard from RJ was, there's something wrong with my bike. And I'm like, what? He says, it just won't go very fast. I'm like, no, you don't know the West Coast and you don't know elevation. Your bike's running fine. Deal with it. And he was like, what? So we're playing with gearing, but
most
they're
guys
stuck with it though.
Almost all the top riders are adding another tooth. Adding another tooth to the back sprocket just to give some more punch. Some of the 250 guys, you know, they might, I've heard some lighter flywheels. I've heard some other combinations. The 450 guys they don't seem to be afraid to maybe add a little compression. The 250 guys are so worried. Their bikes are already at the max. They don't want to add compression. They're afraid to, you know, reliability, other things. But
we did change some counter sprockets.
Did you?
Some of our guys, we're going a little smaller. Just some of the kids that do like to run a little bit longer, luggier pull, they were really suffering today. So some kids we are going to a smaller counter sprocket just to kind of tighten the transmission up a little bit. And so one of the tries. I mean, they're looking for anything.
Well, and the East Coast riders, they also didn't have the luxury of riding the Denver round.
That's right.
So the East Coast 250SX East Coast riders come here and their bikes feel terrible. And the riders that rode the West, they're like, no big deal. It's just like Denver. So
that's right.
Enough,
I've always thought it's crazy too. If you think about Eli Tomac, right? He lives up in this elevation, so he rides his whole life. When he goes down to sea level, his bike must be so fast. Like that would be a weird combo to get on a 450 that's twice as fast on weekends when during the week you're riding in this boggy stuff all the time. So
good
it's amazing.
Save, Derek. Good save.
Good
Derek's
job.
Sliding down the face of this table. So we're going to talk about this table. We went tall to the high 5-footer. Then they were coming off of that right there, hitting the single where the Yamaha Tough Block's blown over, and then trying to land up here where you are, Daniel. They were able to nicely set up to where they came up short. It wasn't that big of a deal, but the goal was to get up here on this table and then enough lift and off that next single out there.
This is a pretty far off too.
It is, and there's no lip right here. Look, they didn't build any little helper here, so it was. And the guys were, like I mentioned, they were having to physically lift on the bike, but they have mellowed this downside right here, so they're coming into this 90 right here. So got a little bit of a quick, small corner, not a whole bunch of berm there, so guys were kind of going all over, inside out. Some of them were cutting to the inside, some were hitting that berm.
I like this prep. Look, they opened us all up.
Yeah.
I see that new equipment they've been running too, where they can open it up a little bit.
Yep.
That's what they're doing. Look, this is good underneath here.
They've done a great job, actually. So I'm not going to even attempt with as wet as that is to go up there if you want. Well, actually, yes, I am. Come on. Let's go. Come on. Over here. This is good. Can we get Derek up here?
I didn't sign the release liability waiver.
Come on.
So you know, Broc.
Come on.
Oh, this ain't bad. All right.
This is not as bad as we thought. Hey, Derek coming up with a camera and all. Perfect. So now we're up on top of, I don't know, Mount Rice Eccles, I guess. So up here, look how high we are here. We're well above the whole starting gate and all the.
All right, so I see. So we're using the over, but they're using the under to get to the gates.
Exactly.
I still like this on this back side here, just to kind of change up the speed. Oh, okay. We're doing a full UE with rollers. So right here, this is very similar to what we saw in Denver, where they went back and forth in front of a couple of times. I don't think the East Coast guys have had that yet, but the West Coast guys have. So good luck over there, Derek. We're going to try to go down this one. Oh man, he went for it, dude.
Oh.
Never broke either, just camera in place.
He says, I haven't fallen. Famous last words. I haven't fallen this year, but we're trying to see if that's going to change.
Yeah, we'll get him on the ground.
Okay, so coming off of that section right there, downside the over-under, and they added these two rollers here.
Yeah.
Right here, you can see they put these in to try to have two lines. These two rollers on the inside, smooth outside berm, and then
I think they should probably tomorrow take a close look at this. Think about it. Obviously they're trying to create some separation in the line. If this outside is working, then I think you got something. But if they find out that this is the only thing that's working, you could easily put a little bank up, just a little one, just to kind of increase the mile per hour.
Yep.
So I think this is cool because it's easy to manage the split. If it's not working, it's an easy fix.
Yep.
Cool.
Hey, speaking of easy fix, you've been down in South Carolina outside of Greenville area, right?
Oh yeah.
And Next Level motocross track, working with Eddie Ray and Jessica Patterson, ex-WMX champion. So you are building a lot of dirt tracks, playing with them. You feel like you're kind of an expert on track prep now, or how does that work?
Getting there, but the East Coast dirt, I'm new to the East Coast, so I'm learning it, and I'll tell you, it's just different. It's stickier, it's ruddier than I'm used to. So I'm becoming an East Coast dirt master. But right now, this is like home sweet home. I'm California boy, so for me, hard pack, a little bit of gravel in the dirt. This is like, I can read this stuff good, but the East Coast sticky stuff, I'm still a little 50-50.
So growing up, I know Lodi, California, okay? To me, Lodi, what is it, the Cycle Bowl? It's a flat track.
Yeah.
I mean, that was what it was famous for.
Still there.
Like a short track, flat track. How did you not get into flat track, or did you ever race it and then just go straight to moto?
I went there a few times, but not where I really started. Sac Raceway was a place that I went.
Sacramento
Raceway.
Yeah, gotcha.
That was a good little moto spot for me growing up, which is funny because so many people have come through there. Like Max Volan raced there. Like when he was winning Loretta Lynn's championships on a Super Mini, he was racing Sac Raceway on Friday nights. It's just like a legendary place, which unfortunately it's gone now. But back when I started racing, there wasn't a lot of NorCal racing, so we would go down to SoCal all the time. And so Glen Helen and Paris and Star West, those were all my local tracks, even though they were 6 hours away because I just didn't have a lot in the beginning. But the Cycle Bowl is still there.
That's
I
great.
don't know who runs it and manages it, but I know that they pop off because I get the schedule. It comes in my email, so
cool.
They're still rocking and rolling at the Cycle Bowl.
So we just went through a section. It was kind of a nondescript, but just coming out of that corner into a full hard right-hand 180 here, and then back across for the second time in front of the starting line here. And we're going to go into a sharp 90 here, and then some fun's going to happen because you're going to go into a little step on, it's going to be a pretty basic double leading into the one section of whoops here on the track, and they did not let him ride through the whoops today. They made him go around a little escape route, keep him off of him to hold him up for the race. But boy, we've seen some history here at Salt Lake where those whoops get really hard.
Yeah, they cup out, they get dry. I'm thinking back to the year, I think Mitchell Oldenburg was on the podium at the showdown, and I just remember him just crushing the whoops that night. McElrath was doing good, but they get cupped and dried out to where this track, because of the elevation, you're revved out way more, but you don't want to rev out because you spin. So it's like this weird game of trying to lug on a track where you're trying to not lug the whole time. So that's the challenge in the whoops. You can't just come in pinned because of the elevation and the lack of power. The faces get so dry, you just spin so bad. So you got to like almost force the bog through there, and then you downshift twice probably before the finish line.
Exactly. Oh, good catch, Mutt. Use your own pants, don't you?
Smells like I used to race here.
Fresh dirt. So, well, we're talking about, we talk about going here and running hard and doing the 450 class, and then I just think back about the time where we saw Zach Osborne grab his one and only 450 win. It was pretty cool for Zacho to have the win here. I know he was super excited, and he was getting through the whoops with another guy that was probably a little more vertically challenged with the long legs, and it's just fun to see. I think, was that the one
they swept that night?
Was it Jason? Whose seat fell off?
Jason
Anderson's seat fell off, and I think it shocked him so much he kind of backed off, and then he realized, wait, I got to finish this thing out. And you got to wonder if he would have just said,
just said,
pinned it.
It is what it is.
Finish it. He might have who knows? He might have won, but it was cool to see Zach win and have his win there. His only Premier Class win there, so that was pretty cool. So whoops,
How many we got?
God, it's usually
9.
It's the 9. Guess what?
It's the number 9.
It's
everybody.
the number 9.
I like these though. Look, there's a good entry whoop.
Yep.
They're big and round. Again, they're drier, so these bottoms won't fill in as bad. So, I mean, it could be one of those things where yes, you could jump, but I think this set you'll end up probably blitzing way faster on it.
Yeah.
Just because you can carry such good momentum in.
Yep.
And the bottoms, I don't think are going to fill in as good as some of the East Coast ones, you know, because they're not just going to dig the tops up as much. So I think we'll be blitzing the fast way all the way through.
Well, guys like Malcolm Stewart will be glad to hear that. I know this year it's been kind of interesting. They've had a lot of jumps that led into the whoops, which is kind of natural. You're compressing down and coming up, and it almost sets you up for the 3-3-3.
Yep, it does.
Jump. So,
or they've even jumped into them a couple whoops. They've played into that too.
Yep.
So.
Yep, that one time.
Oh, these look good.
Yep, Jet was doing it at the one wall jump. So I like to see at least a set. It'd be nice to see a set where the guys are blitzing it.
Yeah.
Yep. So very cool.
If they hold up here, which I think they will, because they're pretty fat on the backside too.
Yeah, they feel pretty firm.
So
underneath.
I think these are going to hold up good.
Okay. So yep, full on last set of whoops, and then leading into a 180 and the finish line. So. You're talking about a last-ditch effort. This is a run.
There it is.
This is
right
where
there.
you hang it out for the win, huh?
Yeah, this is it. Last corner.
Or the LCQ.
Yeah. Oh, no.
You used to obviously kid about yourself being the king of the LCQ and run plenty of those in your day.
Oh, yeah.
You turned pro in what, 2009? When did you turn?
No, 99.
99. Oh, my God.
Yeah,
99.
bro.
99. And you retired, though. I'm sorry. You rode for like 13 years, right?
Yes, yeah.
And the fun, I believe, was your last one Houston?
Houston 2012,
and you beat
450.
You beat a couple. You made the 450 main in your last race, and you beat somebody that night. And I've heard you tease him.
Yeah, I teased James Stewart a little bit about it because obviously, you know, James and I had a long rivalry our whole lives. You know, we went back and forth.
Yeah. While he was passing, you were heading down to the LCQ.
When he was lapping me, we would battle hard for a corner or two. Anyways, so we didn't have any kind of like history at all, except for that race because I made the main that night. Just barely got in, and he crashed out. And so when the race is over, I'm like, I just beat James Stewart at a Supercross. I even lapped him like 5 times. That's it. And so I retired. That was
you lapped him 5 times because he was over there talking to Doc Bodner in the medical unit.
I don't think he was talking to anybody, but
Okay.
he was sleeping on the sideline. But that was it for me. I said, you know what? This is the way to go out. He can never get me back.
Yeah.
And we're done. And I actually called the AMA, got my Seattle entry fee refunded for the next week, and I said, I'm done with Supercross. And that was it.
Good for you.
So
that's the way to do a mic drop and walk out.
That's what it was.
Hey, I am definitely not tackling this. Derek, you can go up and we'll film you falling down.
Yeah,
you think you can get up there?
Oh,
I don't think so, buddy. Let's go around. They put so much water on it, and that thing they didn't groom. There's no traction on the edges.
We have no sides either.
Nope.
It's too nice.
Yeah. All right, so standard Supercross finish. Nope, nothing. It's bigger than it looks, but again, nothing for these guys.
Nice lip, though.
So yeah. So the track being a little longer than last year, and some more 180s. And
Woo. Oh, wow, look at this one.
I'm thinking the lap times are going to be in the mid 50s. So, 53, 55, who knows?
What were they last year? You said 49 in the mains?
Yeah. We saw 49s in the main last year. 46 in qualifying. So we'll see what it brings.
I like this.
Yeah.
Just because it's low and it's going to be slick. You know what I mean? Like sometimes they're steep, so you get a little bit of air time so you can come down and corner better.
Yeah.
This is going to be kind of high speed, which is going to make that so slick.
It was fun watching the guys come in because they were carrying a lot of speed. This didn't slow them down a whole lot.
So were they swinging wide out here?
Yeah, they were hitting this thing a little mid and kind of using the end of the berm right here as
to bank off.
But they were doing a lot of the guys were doing it feet on the peg, so it was pretty fun to see. And running right back across for the third and final time of going sideways right across the starting line. So we got 3 lanes right in a row, 2 back to back, and then this one comes after the whoops and the finish line. So we're going into another sharp right-hander, just a 90 degree here. And if you'll turn, Derek, come over here and let's show kind of
like
what the entry looks like from the rider's point of view. Oh. And they've got that knob on the inside to slow down the inside line, and it gets progressively lower as it works its way. And then you can clearly see the outside berm there too. And then this triple coming up, it's the standard kind of 64-foot Supercross triple, as we've always come to know, but they gave them a little extra run. And so the first few laps, you saw a lot of front ends high,
little overjump,
complete uncertainty if I'm going to make it, especially in the 250 guys in press day here. They were launching pretty high, going, let's make sure I make it. And then once I do that, I can start putting some style points in it. But at first, you know, they weren't quite sure. And then the 450 guys, as you said, were over jumping because they wanted to be certain. They weren't sure how much pump, you know, how much pep their bikes had or how much of the lift they could get. So
it's going to be all right here.
Yep.
Look at this, because this is a good run. Like you said, they gave him a couple feet.
Yeah, they probably.
The run's not bad. Yep. If this finds some good traction, if this works in, they could do it. But if this ends up going too slick, they just won't have anything off this. Yeah,
it's funny. The 250 guys coming off that inside to get up over this thing, that'd be I don't know.
It would have to be just right.
Yeah,
I mean, it'd be faster if you could pull up one lap of qualifying even.
Yep, and that's what they'll be trying to do. So we'll come up the side route here. That's all they give the flagger to stand there. Are you kidding me?
So that's a tight spot.
That's a tight spot to stand on all night long. A couple little platforms on each side, but they'll probably attach they attach the lights actually. So, yep. So
big triple.
64 feet.
Yeah, tall one, good lip.
Looks like 164 feet when you stand from here.
I know, it does. You know what's crazy is, I mean, I did this for a long time. I jumped a million triples, but they scare me so bad now for some reason. When I look at them, I'm just like, oh.
But it's also when you walk them, huh?
Yeah, and then you ride them, they don't feel that way. But when I look from there, it's just like, the window seems small to miss. As I get older, that window gets
smaller and smaller. It starts looking like a peephole.
Yeah, it's like I need a longer landing just in case, and there's not much. This is good though.
It is.
Oh, and see, these are good bowl corners too when they come off of an obstacle like this because they're set up.
Yep.
I like that one and the one before the whoops. These are good.
Yeah. So again, they added a bunch more 90s or 180s. Sorry, took back half of those 90s, and so now we got a lot more 180s for passing. So kind of liking the track myself too. It looks like one of the better Salt Lakes.
I feel like it's like generic as far as design, but all the spots we're passing are set up right.
Yep.
And I think that matters more sometimes than just the obstacles. Like, how do the bowl corners set up? Like, where do the passing lines come? For a basic track, this has great setup everywhere.
Oh, good.
So I think we'll be passing on this track.
Oh, I love to hear that. So I'm sure you're going to be passing on to all your Supercross future riders where they think the good passing opportunities to come. And so coming right out of this right-hander, pretty basic double and into the table. We did not see anyone I did not see anyone get all the way up there. And I know some people talked about it, but that's a pretty long shot.
Yeah.
So not unlike the first turn where they gave them all sorts of run at it, this has almost no run.
This one almost seems further even in distance. Look how far that is.
It is. So I think it's double and then into a table. Yep. And the guys were just from that table there, they were able to get this table and then clear the little single afterwards. So that wasn't the end of the road by any means. Just come into here, double onto the table, clear into that single right there.
Such a good setup corner.
Yep.
Because if you go wide, you could get stuffed here.
Yep.
But if you protect, you have no run. That guy could slingshot you and get you on the inside. Yeah, I'm telling you, this track, this layout sets up the berms right. Like,
yep.
I like 180 to 180 too, because then you can actually use one to set up for the other. So there's a lot of that.
So
it's good.
If you're a rider, you're coming out here, your first lap, instinctually, I think you would take a left here and think you go across, but no way. This is a 180 right here and comes right back onto the starting line. And it seems like, it's a 90-degree berm with a 180 corner. And this developed three really neat lines. Two low that drifted out and had the guys drifting way out on the outside. And then later on, a high line that turned and pivoted down, taking the shortest route, trying to run down the middle. And that's what set up what we talked about in the first corner. Where if you get underneath the guy, if you take that line here and he drifts out and you accelerate and he starts to come down and you go wide, there's a great passing spot.
So this leads, this 3 in a row, like this berm to this berm to that first turn, that type of 180 to a sweep, that sets up, because you could be on the outside of the triple and go out to in, and then beat them down and just hold them. So you can set up early. I like this layout. This is really good.
So what you're saying, if I'm taking it right, like you're saying that a pass that takes place on the opposite side, that rhythm right out of the first corner, could really
off the triple.
It could start off the triple into the Dunlop 180, into this 90, which is really a 180. So really, you could start setting it up on the triple.
If you're on them tight enough to where they have to play defense in the first corner, you almost got them set up. I mean, as long as you're close enough, you could get them by the rhythm. It's like... It's good. A good job, track crew. I like it.
I'm pretty excited too. And so coming into the final race, I cannot believe the series is over. And I can't even, at the end of it all, I usually say, tune in next week to so-and-so race. But this is the final of the final, and I'm super excited to have you as a track walk co-host. And I'm thankful all you people have tuned in the entire 17 rounds. I can't believe it. In another 2024 Supercross season, we're already going to be talking about 2025, huh?
Yeah, and you guys had a rough season this year. You dealt with some weather more than ever. So I just want to say, for all you that did all 17, because this is my first year in a long time not doing them, I pity what y'all went through early in the season. But hey, I think we're going to end with a good one, which is good, because you guys had a mess.
It was. You know what? There were times people that open stadiums here that, in general, other than San Francisco, there was a lot of messiness on Thursdays and Fridays, and press days canceled, and track prep. The crews worked incredibly hard this year to make tracks raceable on the race day. But in general, really, the only real mess of a mess was the San Francisco race. But it's been an exciting year, and happy to have done all 17 rounds. And again, so thank you very much, Daniel Blair.
Thank you.
And it was a pleasure having you as a co-host here in the track walk. And thank you very much, everybody, and into the year for us.